everyone. Welcome to Total Football Talk. I'm Anthony.
And I'm doing a lot better than you. I'm Eric.
Yeah, you are. All right, Eric. Carolina, Houston, go.
Well, poop, man. Seriously. I seriously thought Houston would actually come in and do well in that game. Boy, was I wrong. Kyle Allen looks great. I'm going to tell you that right now. Kyle Allen is carrying the Carolina Panthers to a division title. I'm going to go that far and say it. I'm going that far.
Wow.
We all know he can't do it. We all know he won't do it because Cam will be back.
Yeah.
Fine, whatever. Okay, I understand. Don't lose your job to an injury, but we all saw what happened with Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady, and life has ever been the same in New England or for anybody else for that matter. So, with that being said, Christian McCaffrey was a beast among men. And 37 touches. He made 11 guys miss on tackles. It was a shocking outcome to say the least. But I will give credit where credit is due. Deshaun Watson, I'm telling you right now, I thought it was wonderful that you took that loss personally, as you should take every loss, and you stayed until everybody was gone, and you worked on your footwork and your passing afterwards. I thought it was great. They actually showed a video of him doing that well after the game had ended and everybody had gone home.
Good for him.
It's only going to make you better, Deshaun. But man, that AFC South is a train wreck right now. And Carolina, you get a couple more wins under your belt. Carolina, I'm telling you right now, you can easily get a division title. You could. Just make the right moves.
Dude, everyone is 2-2 in the South. Everyone.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, the Falcons are 1-3.
No, I'm talking about the AFC.
Oh, AFC South.
Yeah. So
everybody's a train wreck.
Yeah.
Everybody's a train wreck. Nobody wants the division. Heck, Tennessee might run away with it.
They might.
I'm talking the NFC South.
No, I know. Look, I thought that personally, that game was an old school football game. There was a little bit of a lull for a while there, but you got to give Houston credit. They stopped the run. They stopped McCaffrey for most of the game, but like a good back, you can't stop them the whole day. And I mean, I thought this was two good football teams playing a good football game. The more I watch Carolina, the more I'm scratching my head how the Rams beat them. And I guess the answer is they beat them because Cam Newton was quarterback, right? But Carolina looks like a different team with this kid at quarterback. And Houston still managed that pretty well. So we'll see what comes up along the road with Carolina. There's not a lot that I have to say about that game, except, Carolina pulled a tough win out. And I believe I picked Carolina, you picked Houston in that one, or maybe it was the other way around. I can't remember. The other game that we picked that is not necessarily in relation to this was I picked the Lions-Chiefs game. And I'll just say a couple things here really quick about the Lions-Chiefs game. I thought the Lions played fantastic. I think they proved that they are a much better football team. They held Mahomes down, but the Chiefs showed you how good they really are, being able to do what they did despite the limitations that they had. Mahomes is legit. That team is legit. But Detroit, man, if you're not afraid of the Lions and you're in the South, you're. So I think overall, I think Detroit played really, really well. And I think that if you're in this, and you tell me, Eric, you're in the North. Are you more nervous about the Lions than you are obviously Minnesota or Green Bay at this point?
Well, you'll get my thoughts on Minnesota in a moment, but Green Bay's defense is going to have a big test this coming up week against Dallas when they face Zeke, Amari Cooper, and Dak and whatnot. So I don't really believe that Green Bay has faced a really good offense outside of Philadelphia. So I'm still on the ledge with Green Bay, whether they're legit or not. Detroit's defense, legit. The offense, I think there's still room to improve. Just like the Bears offense, I still think the Lions offense has a lot of room to improve. And Stafford has a lot of good weapons. I mean, don't discount Kerryon Johnson. Don't discount Galladay. Galladay's a stud.
Yeah.
He will be a stud for a long time in this league. And Marvin Jones is no slouch either. You get T.J. Hawkinson healthy. I know he left the game early. He didn't finish the game because he landed trying to leap over like a doofus over a defender. and he came down on his shoulder and his head. So hopefully he's okay. The Lions need him running down the seams and in the middle of the field.
Yep. Well, again, that game, I know you picked the Chiefs. I picked the Lions. I was going with an upset there. I lost 5 games, and that was one of the 5 games that I lost this week in my picks. But dang, it came close to going the other way around. Eric, we're gonna talk about the Vikings and Bears because there's a lot to unpack in the Ram game. 16-6. I got to give you credit. You know, you said that it was going to be a low scoring game and that Chicago wouldn't score much, but I was impressed with what I saw from Chicago. I saw a quarterback come in after Trubisky went down, who just he was on point on third down. He helped. He didn't make a lot of mistakes. And that Bear defense, number 47, whoever that Polish guy is, man, dude, that guy that's Dick Butkus reincarnated in a different friggin' jersey number. It was insane to watch. I'm like, is that Bronco Nagurski? Another Polak? What's going on out there? It was amazing. He made a move on the Vikings, Dalvin Cook, that would make, I mean, it was ridiculous. It would make an NBA player go, oh, you know, on the top of their feet. It was ridiculous. And then he just absolutely charges into him and drives him into the quarterback on another play. That dude was a stud all day long.
Well, the Vikings came in as the leading rushing team in the league. Dalvin Cook came in as the leading rusher in the NFL. Yeah, the Bears are like that today, son. We don't care that you get a touchdown late on a little screen pass, but that's okay. Listen, I completely miscalled this game, evidently, because I picked the Vikings to win.
Mm-hmm.
But the Bears defense showed me that you can almost plug and play anybody in that defense in the right spot, and you know what, they're going to perform. And that's what happened. Roquan Smith got ruled out about 2 hours before game time due to a personal issue. And Nick Kwiatkowski just stepped right up. Akeem Hicks, he was doubtful going into the game. He didn't dress. Nick Williams came in at the defensive tackle position or nose tackle and silenced everybody down. The Vikings could not get anything going. Listen, there were a couple of plays in this game that really could have turned the tide. If there was no holding on the first possession on the defense, scoops and scores, and the Bears are playing from behind. Play 2, Chase Daniel comes in with no practice reps, no warm-up, didn't even warm up with the football before the first snap that he took after Trubisky went out injured. He's got a separated shoulder and a slightly torn labrum in his left shoulder. Not season-ending. He should be back after the bye week when the Saints come to town. But he came in through a nice touchdown pass to Tariq Cohen. That was game changer number 2. The third game change that I thought, because the Vikings were still not really out of it, being down 16-0 at one point, so 2 scores and two-point conversions. But Kirk Cousins just missed Adam Thielen streaking down the middle of the field and just overthrew him by about 3 feet. You got to have those, because if you don't, it could really you could really lose a lot of momentum. I thought those were 3 big plays right there. The Bears had a couple of boneheaded plays on defense. They were about to make the Vikings punt on 4th and 18 from their own end zone, and Eddie Jackson comes in and gets a personal foul, 15-yard penalty for taunting, automatic first down. And it was like offsides. It was holding. It just felt like everything. But the Vikings ended up marching down the field, and then the Bears defense was like, okay, to heck with this. Now we're going to go after Cousins. And they ended up sacking and making Cousins fumble. I believe that was the second of Khalil Mack's 2 strip sacks. They did it to like a 3rd and 35, and the Vikings just couldn't recover. So, I mean, big plays all around. The Vikings scored late, couldn't get the 2-point conversion, yada, yada, yada. Bears are 3-1. And here's a very interesting stat for you regarding football. The Bears, not including the postseason, are 5-1 under Matt Nagy when scoring 16 or less points.
Wow, that's crazy.
And 1. Like,
wow.
Seriously, they're okay. The other, I'll turn another stat where it sounds bad, but I mean they're 3-1. They're averaging 275 yards a game and 15 points per game. Jared Goff just threw for over 500, so you can see there's a big difference right there.
Yeah. Well, let's go into that with the transition here. the fact of the matter is, I believed at this point the Rams are going to be 3-1. I thought they beat the Saints. I thought they beat Carolina. I figured they lose to Cleveland and beat Tampa before losing the next 2 games coming up. I was wrong. They beat Cleveland, but then they lost to Tampa. There's a lot to unpack here, but I'll just say, again, like you with running the football, I'll be a broken record. This is why, guys, I got so pissed off at Les Snead in the draft. We drafted Gerald Everett instead of drafting the kid that's in San Diego right now. We drafted Feeney. We drafted, last year we drafted another skill player, Taylor Rapp, instead of getting an offensive lineman this year. Now, Taylor Rapp is a decent player, okay? But we didn't need a safety. Where was the free agency? So now we're left with what I believe is the worst football player in the National Football League. I think there are guys on people's practice squads that are better than Rob Havenstein. And if you watch this game and you want to get pissed off at Goff, there's plenty of material there for you to get pissed off at Goff. If you watch this game and you want to get pissed off at McVay, there's plenty of room there to get pissed off at McVay. But at the end of the day, the front 5 is what's going to determine your success week in and week out. And when you have a right tackle that cannot block anybody, and if you don't believe me, look at the last drive for the Rams. In the most crucial moment on 3rd down, what did the Buccaneers do? They moved their number 1 pass rusher off of Whitworth and moved him over to Havenstein. Great adjustment by Bruce Arians. And what happened? He gets a strip sack, and Ndamukong Suh, in irony of ironies, picks up the football and scores the put-away touchdown. Now, is this all Rob Havenstein's fault? No. Is it mostly Rob Havenstein's fault? Yes. Jared Goff was hit over 20 times. He was sacked 6, and every single sack came on that side of the ball. As I said before, you've got an aging left tackle. You've got a left guard that should be playing left tackle but instead he's playing left guard. He's never played left guard before, and that's a difficult transition. It looks like we have a center for years to come in Allen. We have a backup playing right guard, and we have the worst player in professional football at right tackle. Now, until that gets shores up, this Ram team is going to be utterly mediocre at best against anybody with a defensive pass rush. So I'm looking at this football team and I'm saying Jared Goff passed 68 times. That put Jared Goff's life at peril, right? Of course, Jared Goff's going to have turnovers. He's getting rocked every single play. And then people are like, well, why isn't McVay running the ball? Because when he does run the ball, Havenstein doesn't make a block and he's making people miss in the backfield and getting rocked. Or he's getting on the other side of the field. But you can only run to one side of the field for so long before defenses pick up on it. They stop the stretch. And again, my complaint with McVay, you have one formation, you have 6 plays. That's it. You have the worst offensive line in the division outside of Arizona and one of the worst offensive lines in all of the NFC. It doesn't matter what your skill players are, guys. It doesn't. If the front 5 can't keep your quarterback upright and can't open holes for your running back, you don't win in this league. I don't care if it's not sexy to get a lineman in the first round with the first pick. But if that's what your team is lacking, get that first. You cannot win in any professional football league. You cannot win in any football league from Pop Warner to pro without those 5 guys. And we have 2 good linemen, 3 good linemen, and one of them is over 30-something years old. That means we only really have 2 effective linemen of the future. 3/5 of our offensive line is either old or garbage. Maybe now you guys understand why I wasn't high on Gerald Everett, why I wasn't high on Taylor Rapp. We had other positions that were dire and urgent that were going to submarine this thing. My only hope is that this season, which is going to end in an utter playoff destruction in the first game that we play in, whether that's wild card or somehow we manage a first round bye and we get. All right. Like I said, an utter playoff destruction loss is going to be the best thing for us because at that point, the Rams can focus on lining either free agency or maybe both, free agency and draft alignment. I mean, it's not hard. It's obviously your biggest weakness right now, submarining the whole team. So for me, it's one of those things that I knew this year was coming. That's why I called it. And at this point, it's all falling into place. I didn't expect a Tampa loss, but I didn't expect the Cleveland win. So for me, Eric, this is par for the course. We have the worst offensive line of anybody in the division outside of Arizona, and one of the worst offensive lines in football. And yet the media keeps telling me how, I can't believe the Rams' offensive line is underperforming. Underperforming how? Like I said, you have a left guard that's been a career left tackle. You've got a backup right guard playing right guard as a starter, and you got the worst right tackle in football. We have a left tackle and a center, and that's it. Although Noteboom has been very impressive, all things considered, with what he's been up against. Eric, your assessment of the game.
Well, honestly, to piggyback off your lineman, there's one trade you could easily make right now, and obviously it takes two to tango, but man, I'd be calling Washington off and offering everything but the kitchen sink for Trent Williams.
Yeah.
He could really solidify your line. What I find disturbing in the game myself, A, all the turnovers that Goff had, and B, only 5 carries for Gurley. Don't tell me that, game flow dictated it. What happened in the first quarter? So he gave him 5 carries there and kept feeding him the ball. So, I don't want to say it, but I want to know what's wrong with Gurley, because obviously he's not 100%. We all know this.
Yeah.
You can see it. It's evident. Just come out and say it. Giving up 55 points to the Buccaneers isn't even the worst thing. That's the most points they've ever scored in a game in their history. The previous high was 48. They achieved 4 different times.
Yeah, the first time was in 87.
Yeah, they love scoring on the road. They've only done it twice at home out of six times when they've scored 45 or more. And this is the most that they've ever scored in a game. Goff also threw 3 picks.
Yep.
Against Tampa Bay's defense, come on, man. Seriously? Sure, that's the second most interceptions he's had in a game in his career, or even in the last 2 years, to be honest with you. But I told you, the one thing I told you to work on and watch out for going into this game was block Shaq Barrett. And he, again, was a monster. Say hello to your defensive player of the year right there, right now. I'm giving it to him already.
Yeah.
Doing it a beat. What Donald has done, what Mac has done, what even Clowney did last week with a touchdown himself for Seattle, doesn't pale in comparison to what Shaq Barrett had done. He destroyed Carolina by himself on a Thursday night game.
Yeah.
And now he gets the New Orleans Saints next week against Teddy Bridgewater. I feel sorry for people who are going up against the Bucs defense now. They're going to give up points, but I'll tell you, if Winston's buying into what Arians is providing, he could be a very serviceable quarterback this year. And he showed it when he went to LA to play the Rams.
Yep.
He had a good game, 385 yards. It's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, you think that 385 yards is achievable for every quarterback, and for about 2/3 of the league it is. But he doesn't get those numbers all the time.
Here, let me just end it with this, okay? Let me just end it with this. There was a genius out there on Sunday, but the real genius isn't Sean McVay and his completely inept offensive game plan of 1 formation and 6 plays and coming at you from different areas with smoke and mirrors. We saw a real genius at work yesterday or Sunday, and that was Bruce Arians. And I'll just leave it at that. McVay has a long way to go till he gets to a level where I could consider somebody a genius. I mean, I'm fine with 1 formation. If you go back and look at Joe Gibbs, ace formation, but he had jumbo, he had trips, he had quads, he had standard. He had 6 different formations off of that 1 formation. McVay has 2. Anyway, I'm going to pause here. Go ahead.
I just want to add this really quick. If you haven't heard the news already, Vontaze Burfict has been suspended for the season for a bad hit on Jack Doyle. And yeah, it was bad. didn't look that bad, but when you slow it down and watch any replay, was pretty bad. I thought the hit on Marcus Peters when he returned the pick six for a touchdown was worse.
Oh, yeah.
Right when he crossed the goal line. And I have not heard of any disciplinary action or suspension for any Tampa Bay Buccaneer defensive player. But, man, if there is none, total double standard. Like, that guy deserved to get at least a game or two suspension on that hit. I was like, holy cow, Peters got up. I'm surprised he didn't die.
Yeah, well, Eric, welcome to life as a Ram fan. Okay, now I just want to go to the games that we're going to pick. I'm going to end with the Rams and Seahawks. I'm going to be brief with that one, or we can do that one first and do the Bears last. The game that I want to talk about is actually two division winners or two division leaders going head to head. I'm interested because I think it's a lot like the Viking Raider game, except we got no answers, right? Because the Raiders looked like crap, the Vikings looked amazing, and then once again the next week they flipped back and reverted back to one looking good and one looking bad. I give up. You just talk about the Raiders with Burfett, right? Look, all I'm going to say is this. The Monday night game between the Browns and 49ers, it looks like it's going to be a really fun matchup to watch. It looks like it's going to be a really good game. And I'm actually really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be high scoring. I don't think people are going to be expecting it. I think that, Cleveland's going to put some pressure on the 49ers. I think they're going to get some sacks. And ultimately, I'm not a fan of Baltimore. So the 40-25 win doesn't impress me as it does other people. But I'm also not a fan of the Steelers. I'm not, and I'm going to get to this in a minute. The Bengals, boy, I'd pull the Giants this year. Let me just say this right now so I can get the monkey out of that's lingering around that everyone's waiting for. I was
number 2 pick in the AFC trade.
I was wrong. Okay. I admit entirely I was wrong on the Bengals. Okay. The Bungles have struck again. That is one of.
At least the Giants won a couple of games where I picked them.
And the Bengals still may, but it's just going to be a couple. This is a race to 2-0 at this point. Tua, I don't have nothing to say except I'm sorry. I was flipping dead wrong on Cincinnati. That team looks like it needs to just be blown up, and maybe that's what they have to do. Sorry, Andy, but I think you're out, and somebody's going to have to pick up. They're going to have to pick up the pieces and rebuild that whole mess. So the 49ers game against them isn't impressive, and their week 1 win. I don't even remember who they played week 1 offhand. Trying to think. Yeah, they didn't play Seattle week 1, you dork.
They're still talking about Cincinnati.
No, I'm talking about San Francisco.
San Francisco, well, they played Cincinnati week 2. They didn't play the Cardinals. No, they didn't play the Cardinals. Detroit played the Cardinals.
Tampa Bay. They played Tampa Bay and they beat them. And the Rams didn't. And that was in Tampa. So I'm really curious to see how this game's going to go. I'm picking the Niners. Sorry, guys. I'm picking San Fran. I think they're going to go into Cleveland. I think they're going to put some pressure on Baker Mayfield. I think they're going to put some pressure on those receivers. I got the 49ers winning this game. I'm going to go 31-27. I think the 49ers will get off to a good start. I think the Browns will make a nice little comeback. And then I think the 49ers will pull away, and then there'll be some touchdowns at the end to make it close. But this is going to be a back-and-forth football game. Maybe it's going to be full of lead changes, but I just think there's going to be a moment there where the Niners take over, and that's going to be the turning point of the game. I'm going to go 31-27 San Francisco. I think between the Niners' running game, I think between the Niners' defensive pressure, I think between their ability to make plays in the secondary and pick off the ball, Baker Mayfield is coming off of a big emotional win. It's another primetime game. They're going to be amped up and ready to prove, but the Niners don't care about any of that. Right now, they've got first place in the division and the Rams in the rear view, and they ain't looking back. We're going to have to take it back because they ain't going to look back and get it. And unfortunately for us, I think that gap's going to be widened by the end of this week. But I got to tip my hat. I think the Niners may be the scariest team in our division. And if we don't get our crap together, we may be a wild card team, and they're the division winner. So We'll have to wait and see, but I just think there's too many. The Niners' defensive line against the Browns' offensive line, the Niners' secondary against the beat up Browns wide receiving core, and the running game against the Browns' front seven is going to be a fascinating thing to watch. Jimmy G is going to have some opportunities. I think it's going to be a fun game, but I'm going Cleveland. I mean, San Francisco 31-27. E, take it away.
I don't say this all that often, but I think the bye week came perfectly for San Francisco, and I'll tell you why. Week one, they travel cross country, they go to Tampa, no big deal, they pull out a W. They stay in Youngstown, Ohio, then travel over to Cincinnati, whoop the Bengals. It wasn't even close, I think it was like 41-17.
Yep.
And then week three, they play their home opener in Santa Clara, and it was a turnover fest. No, I'm surprised the Steelers didn't win that game just because San Francisco looked so bad with their 4 turnovers, 3 by Garoppolo alone just in the first half. But I think the bye week, like I said, came at a perfect time. They're able to shore up the offense, talk about ball control, get Tevin Coleman back healthy. He's supposedly going to be back for this game, and I think it only helps San Francisco in that regard. On the Cleveland Browns side...
Hold on. Go.
I just started with Cleveland. Okay, on the Cleveland Browns side, a lot has been made about the Browns and their shortcomings and Baker not being the quarterback they envisioned or whatever. I believe, with so high expectations coming into this year, and yours truly, and maybe even the other person on the other side of the camera as well, calling the Browns to win the division... well, hold on. Somebody didn't call the Browns winning the division. They called the Bengals winning the division.
Yeah, I got the Browns making the playoffs, though.
But you got the Browns making the playoffs. There were so high expectations, they need to get off of prime time. Get off Sunday night. Get off of Monday night. We saw them handle the Jets pretty easily in week 2. But other than that, their games are really, they play the Rams tough. But it was always Cleveland shortcomings, Baker this, Baker that. And they unleashed stuff against Baltimore, who ran his tail off. They got Jarvis Landry the ball, which they need to, because they don't have David Njoku anymore. They have former cast off of the Arizona Cardinals, Ricky Seals-Jones. But use Odell Beckham. For crying out loud, use Odell. And he did 155 yards in, week 2, I believe. So he's gotten his piece of the pie. Spread it out. Give him both the Landry and Beckham. Both sides of the field. But I think that this is going to go the way of the San Francisco 49ers on Monday night. I got very close toward you, Anthony. I got 30-23 San Fran.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game, though. It's going to be worthy of a Monday night matchup, considering what we just got last Monday night, which was an utter disaster. What game did you want to cover, E?
We're going to cover the Packers and the Cowboys in the game of the week as far as Fox goes down in Jerry World. I think this is a very great matchup. However, there is one big injury that's going to prevent the Packers from winning, and that's Davante Adams. They're going to try to put the game on Aaron Rodgers' shoulders. They were able to do it, the first couple of weeks. Get everybody involved. They came up short against the Eagles, which the Eagles played their freaking minds out. I'll tell you that much. When Philly went to Lambeau and beat up 34-27 last Thursday. But no Davante Adams down in Dallas for Green Bay, and I think that's a huge, huge hole for Green Bay. Yeah, Geronimo Allison had a great game against Philadelphia and scored a touchdown. What did he do? Jimmy Graham. Oh, you could trust me. Okay, sure. We've seen Aaron Rodgers trust with receivers outside of Davante Adams. There isn't much. Marcus Valdes-Scantling could have had a huge game against Philly, but only had about 35 yards receiving or something. So there's a lot of guys that need to step up. Green Bay wants to get the run game going. Aaron Rodgers doesn't want that to happen, even though that's the best formula for Green Bay to win. Which, going into Dallas and facing a two-headed monster of Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith, one of those is going to be spying the running back, the other one is going to be spying the quarterback, and it's going to be a long day down in Dallas for Green Bay. And it's been proven if Jordan Howard can run on Green Bay, you're darn well right that Ezekiel Elliott can run all over Green Bay. And I'm expecting Elliott, after a 35 poor performance yardage game against the New Orleans Saints, where he also fumbled but also had a touchdown, I expect him to go well over 100 yards of rushing. Amari, too, as well. I wouldn't be surprised at a couple short touchdowns to Jason Witten. I'm showing this game as a blowout. 41? Yeah, you heard that right. 41 hanging on Green Bay's defense. You know, everybody rags on Green Bay's defense, how great it is this year. Watch. Not going to happen. 41 to 20.
Yeah, look, I haven't been a fan of Green Bay from the start of this year. I looked at the Packers, and I didn't think this was a playoff team. I think Green Bay is about to go on a nice long losing streak, starting with Dallas, going on with Detroit at home the next week, and then looking at Green Bay. I'm just going to look at two more of their games because I think they're going to – the Oakland could be a win, but that's going to be a tougher game than I think people think. I won't be surprised if Green Bay loses that, but I do know this. I do know Green Bay is going to lose the following week against Kansas City and KC. So you could be looking at a 4-game losing streak. And all that talk about Green Bay goes right out the window. Look, Dallas is missing their big playmaker. They're missing their Devontae Adams as well in Gallup. Okay? So this is even.
Gallup's going to play.
I don't think he's going to play. You think he's going to play?
Gallup has already said, they've already come out and said that Gallup will be suiting up for Sunday's game.
I don't think Gallup's going to be at full strength. So you've got a diminished Gallup and no Devontae Adams. This is, okay, so the edge goes a little bit to Dallas in that respect, but I think they're pretty even. Look, the bottom line is this. Green Bay is not a good football team. They benefited playing Chicago week 1 for like the 30th year in a row. And Dallas, as far as I'm concerned, this is the game that if you're going to make me believe that you are a Super Bowl caliber football team, after hearing it year in and year out from the idiot experts that don't know their elbow from their a-hole, if you really want me to believe that you're better than the Rams and that this is a legit football team, you better blow out Green Bay. You better blow out Green Bay. And I think they will. I got 41-27, Eric. I think Ezekiel Elliott's going to run wild. I think Dak's going to find wide open receivers all over the place, especially once the running game gets clicking. I did not anticipate Gallup playing, so I was originally going to say 34-20, but I'll go 41-27, and the reason I give Green Bay an extra touchdown is, actually, you know what? I'm not going 41-27. I'm going 41-13. I'm going 41-13. I think that Dallas defense is legit, and I just don't think they're going to let Green Bay move the ball. And I think they're going to force Aaron Rodgers into making a lot of mistakes. And I think LeBron James is going to Aaron Rodgers is going to go crying on the sidelines. And I think you're going to see an atypical performance from the Dallas Cowboy defense. This is not going to be close. And if it is close, Dallas fans need to be concerned because you just lost to Teddy Bridgewater and the New Orleans Saints, which, oh, by the way, just for the record, he beat Seattle, he beat Dallas, and the Rams blew him out. I mean, what does that say about the Rams? How good are they really, right? But then the Rams lose 55-40 to Tampa Bay and throws this whole season back into a monkey wrench. I'm telling you, this is the weirdest season I've ever seen. But if Dallas is legit, then they got to blow the doors off a bad football team in Green Bay, and they are bad. I don't care what the record is. This is a bad football team. They are a one-player football team on offense, and their defense is highly overrated. So
they are one hit away from Tim Boyle being their starting quarterback.
Yeah, and that's all I have to say about that. All right, let's hit the Rams and we'll end with the Bears. Look, Jadeveon Clowney, Seattle's front four, and the Rams' offensive line. That is the scariest proposition I've seen. I think that the Rams got punched in the mouth. I don't think Peters will play in this game. If he does, I don't think he's going to be entirely there. I think Weddle's Weddle's lack of knowledge of the defense as he's still learning a new defense is still going to be there for another couple of weeks. I think by week 7, I think that'll be cleaned up. But there's still going to be a learning curve here. I don't like the way the Rams looked against Tampa Bay, and I really don't like this matchup. I think Seattle is going to run the ball all day, every day, all over the Rams defense because that's the one thing the Rams still can't stop. They've got speed at wide receiver, and we saw what speed does in Godwin against this Ram defense. They cannot stop anybody. They are going to put their best pass rusher on third down on Rob Havenstein's side and abuse him like a redheaded stepchild and a broken mule. And I think Seattle is going to get off to a big lead, probably 14, maybe 17 points. And I think they're going to walk out of that building with a 31-20 win over the Rams. The Rams, they're going down. And I'm not saying they're going down. I'm not saying the season is over. And I know Ram fans are going to be slamming the panic button, and they're going to slam it even harder next week when they go 3-3. But I told you guys 4-4 through the first 8 weeks of the season. Now, that was before I thought Atlanta was a better football team. There's a real possibility by the bye week the Rams are 5-3. But this is not a win. This is a rough game. It's a bad matchup, and the Rams got a lot of problems to solve between now and the bye week. And I agree with you, Eric, on Trent Williams from Washington. If they've got to give up something, then they got to give up something. And maybe that something is, Robert Woods, or I hate to say it, or maybe that something is Josh Reynolds and something, but maybe it's a first round pick, although I'd hate to see him do that. They're going to have to do something to get rid of Rob Havenstein, and that will help the O-line at least survive against these better opponents. But I don't see the Rams doing it. I think they're going to make way with what they've got, and Rob will recover and at least be something of a relevant player. But this is an 11-5, 10-6 team at best with the offensive line we got right now. And all I know is there is no Trent Williams this week. There's Rob Havenstein. Seahawks 31, Rams 20.
It's a very interesting game, and I do agree with Todd Gurley when he says, I don't like Thursday night games. This early in the season, I don't like them either. I just think that, your body goes through so much to turn around, and you get 3 days of rest, and then you got to play on day 4, and it's just not good for the league to have watered-down product 4 days later. With that being said, at least the Rams don't have to fly cross-country, or they don't have to fly halfway around the country. They could just take a straight flight north to Seattle and be like, okay, cool, we're here. Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head with Clowney when the Rams have the ball. You're going to have to run a lot of screen passes, bootlegs. You can't just run straight up the middle or straight to the right or straight to the left because Clowney is going to eat you for breakfast, lunch, and dinner all in the same sitting. But I do like the fact that if Peters does play and Weddle's okay to play, that Donald's still going to get pressure on Russell Wilson. The Seahawks and Rams are actually going in opposite directions right now. The Rams are a little bit banged up, and the Seahawks are getting healthy. Dwayne Brown should be back for the Seahawks. Not that he makes that huge of a difference, but getting healthy bodies does. They're going to get Rashad Penny back, so they're still going to have their three-headed running attack with Patterson, Procise, and Penny. But the Rams on the other side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball, are going to be without Bryce Hager because he's got a shoulder injury and he's already been ruled out. So they're going to bring in Troy Reader, who's an undrafted rookie from Delaware. Hey, next man up, buddy. Let's see what you're made of. Let's see what kind of football you played at Delaware. Obviously, we drafted you. We got the game tape on you. Let's see what you can do in our defense. And then the other injury to also talk about, Taylor Rapp. He won't be lining up next to Eric Weddle, but Marquis Christian will be if Rapp is unable to play. He's currently doubtful, so I don't really expect him to play. But the Rams got to find some sort of running game. I love what the rapport that Goff has with his wide receivers, and I would just think that this could be like a Cooks type of game. It's been Kupp twice. It's been Woods once. I don't know. I have a strong feeling that it's Cooks' turn. I do like Kupp in this situation because the Seahawks don't have their defense that they had from years ago where they could cover everybody on the field.
Oh.
And Kupp's bound to get open. Cooks can speed past that defense, and Woods is there at the first down marker when he needs him. But it's going to be a matter of how much time do I have, what kind of blocking is there, and we've seen with the Buccaneers that it wasn't the best offensive display for the Rams with Goff throwing for 517 yards and 3 picks. So, being on a Thursday night, I still believe the Rams are a better football team than the Seahawks. There's only one guy in the Seahawks you really got to account for outside of Russell Wilson, and that's Tyler Lockett. I think you can still shut down Carson. He's had fumbling problems, so just get a hand on the ball. You could probably recover a couple fumbles. I like this in a close game for the Rams, 24-23.
That is a close game. 1-point games are all the rage, apparently, with Freeland to boot. All right, Bears, Raiders. It's your team, so I'll go first on this one. I know I let you go last with the Rams, and I'll let you go last with the Bears too. I think Chase Daniels he's in the perfect spot. He is a professional backup quarterback. He is to the Chicago Bears what Steve Berline was to the Dallas Cowboys in the early 90s. You got the right guy at the right position in the right place. He can come in and win you some games. And the Raiders in London, I hate London games. It's a 6 a.m. game. But defense travels, and the Bears win with defense, and the Raiders don't. So for me, I look at this game and I go, okay, if I've got to look at this and be honest, I think it's going to be 23-3 Bears. I think that their defense is probably going to get a defensive touchdown somewhere along the way. I think it'll be 16-3 most of the second half, and I think that's where you're going to see the Bears get the defensive touchdown and put it up 23-3. I know it's a specific situation, but London's a tough place to play. Whether it rains or not, that field is always soggy because it rains so much in London. It's an early game. It's a time travel issue. Not time travel, but time zone issue. It's a problem. And I think that the Bears are better equipped with the way they play football to overcome it. But the Bears have got to start figuring out how to run the football, Eric. Montgomery doesn't look to me like a top 25 back. He just doesn't. And that's a harsh statement, right? But neither does Henderson. So I think there was a lot about these backs coming out. You want to know who Montgomery reminds me of? Minus the fumbling? Rashaan Salam. There's a name from the past.
Yeah, but Montgomery can catch the ball out of the backfield unlike Salam could.
Well, that's because he had fumble issues. The guy had no hands. But the running inconsistency of Salam is what I see in Montgomery. Now, maybe that's just because he's learning the system and time will tell. But he's got to get that going. The Bears have to get that going. And I can't think of a better place to do it than in London.
Yeah, I do agree with that, and I think without Perfect in the middle of the field for the Raiders, that there's going to be a lot of people who actually come out of this game healthy instead of on a stretcher. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud?
Yes, you did.
So, with that being said, I mean, like you said, it's a perfect game for him to actually come out and show what he is. And he is a talented runner. They saw something in him in the third round. They're like, you know what, we're going to take this kid. He can do a world for us. And might as well make it against the Raiders. But this really isn't about the Bears' offense. This is the Oakland Raiders versus the Chicago Khalil Macks. Khalil Mack has said, oh, yeah, I've been looking forward to this game. Bro, you had this game circled on your calendar since you found out last year that the Raiders were a Bears opponent way back in 2018 when you signed your extension. We're like, oh, who are my future opponents? Oh, the Raiders? Oh, cool. Yeah. I'll show you what I can do now. Wait till you see me against Oakland.
That's gonna be
I feel sorry for Derek Carr. I really do. For the sole fact that the Raiders' offensive line, and don't get me wrong, I don't know how they pulled out the game in Indianapolis where they won 31-24. I have no clue. I just know that Carr passed. Tyrell Williams caught a touchdown for the fourth game in a row. He's questionable this week going to London. But the Bears are going to have Roquan Smith back. Most likely going to have Akeem Hicks back. Oh, by the way, Max over here on the left side. Oh, nope, he's over here on the right side. Derek Carr, you guys might be friends. And you're going to take up his friends after he gets done with you, I'll tell you that much.
You
He's
ready?
going to take it personal.
You ready for a bold prediction?
5 sacks?
NFL record for single game sacks with
I'll take
9.
it.
With
I'll take it.
9. I'm
I'll
going
take
9 sacks by Khalil Mack alone in this game.
I'll take it. And you know what? Mac's not just going to smash your face in the turf. No, that's not what he does. He comes around the edge, he's going to swat the ball away, and the Bears get a fumble recovery. That's what he does. He's able to get his hand on the quarterback's hand. It counts as a sack. So you have drive-by sacks. That's
Yeah.
what you have.
Yeah.
And Chase Daniel's going to take care of the football. They're going to get the running game going. Montgomery will have over 75 yards rushing. He'll have over 50 yards receiving, too, because he can catch on the backfield. I do like Allen Robinson having a good game. I see Chase Daniel throwing for over 250 yards when they finally get the ball, because the defense is going to be like, no, we're going to play offense, too. But it's going to be the Khalil Mack show. Get your Mack jersey on. Anthony, you said that that Clowney is the nightmare that you see on the other side of the line for the ball. Yeah. Wait till week 11. But yeah, the Bears win this one. I like this game 27-9 Bears.
Okay, there you go. All right. Well,
I'm sorry, but even if they held out Roquan and they held out a team mix because their personal matters and their injuries, it's like when the Bears held out Khalil Mack and Allen Robinson last year against the Jets and the Bills. They can hold out some of those key guys to get them healthy. They have a bye week right afterwards.
yeah.
And they could do it. I would rather them play so they could be like, hey, here's the defense. Stop us.
Yeah. Well, they could beat the Raiders without those guys too, that's for sure. All right. Well, Eric, that's all I've got. I'm not going to add anything. I'll save my breath for next week. I'm off from work. I have a week off. So we could do a show at any point next week from Tuesday to Friday instead of waiting for Saturday on that.
Nice.
I'm Anthony.
And from London, I'm Eric. No, I'm not really there.
I was going to say, are you really there? Horns up.
I wish. Bear down.
Go Rams!
And go Khalil Mack to Chicago.
All right, late.